One word turned a hopeless trap into one of the greatest victories in Greek mythology. It fooled a monster no warrior could overpower. It deceived an entire race of Cyclopes. And yet, that same word would eventually lead to Odysseus' greatest mistake. Before it became a legend, it was simply the desperate plan of a man trapped inside a cave with no way out. This is why the greatest hero of the Odyssey chose to call himself Nobody. The trap inside the cave. The island of the Cyclopes seemed like a haven, a lush, untouched paradise filled with wild goats and rich soil. But to Odysseus, a warrior defined by restless curiosity, a quiet shore was never enough. Leaving most of his fleet behind, he took 12 of his best men and ventured into a massive, shadowy cavern near the coast. Inside, they found a storehouse of divine abundance, towering racks of aged cheese, pens overflowing with young lambs, and bowls filled to the brim with sweet whey. His men begged him to grab the food, drive the livestock to their ships, and flee. But Odysseus refused. He wanted to see the host who lived there. He expected xenia, the sacred Greek code of hospitality that commanded hosts to honor guests with gifts and protection. That curiosity proved fatal. When the cavern's owner returned, the earth shook under his boots. Polyphemus, a giant son of Poseidon with a single, massive eye burning in the center of his forehead, rolled a colossal boulder across the entrance, sealing the cave with 22 tons of solid stone. The Greeks were trapped inside a living nightmare. Without a word of welcome, the monster reached down, snatched 2 sailors like puppies, and smashed their heads against the cold rock floor. As his men watched in sheer horror, Polyphemus devoured the fallen crew members raw, flesh, bones, and marrow, washing them down with bowls of unmixed milk. In an instant, the rules of civilization had vanished. Odysseus and his remaining men were no longer honored guests. They were livestock waiting for the slaughter. Why didn't Odysseus kill the Cyclops? As Polyphemus collapsed into a deep, wine-soaked stupor, Odysseus drew his bronze sword. The beast lay helpless before him. His throat was exposed, his single giant eye closed, his chest rising and falling in heavy, rhythmic gasps. Every warrior instinct screamed at Odysseus to strike, to drive the blade deep into the monster's liver and avenge his slaughtered men. He stepped forward, blade raised. But mid-swing, he froze. A sudden, chilling realization stayed his hand. If he killed the Cyclops now, they would all die anyway. The giant stone still sealed the entrance. 22 tons of unyielding rock that no human strength could ever move. The monster was their prison warden, but he was also their only key to freedom. Killing Polyphemus would turn the cavern from a temporary trap into an inescapable tomb. Brute force had failed them. Rage would only guarantee their destruction. To survive, Odysseus needed a plan that didn't just overpower the giant, but manipulated him into opening that door himself. He sheathed his sword and looked around the cavern. His eyes landed on a massive olive wood club drying near the sheep pens. The mind that had devised the Trojan horse began to construct a far more devious trap, one built not of wood and bronze, but of words, deception, and psychological warfare. The name that became a weapon. The next evening, the giant returned, drove his sheep inside, and sealed the cave once more. As he prepared another horrific meal, Odysseus stepped forward with an offering. In his hands was a bowl of potent, unmixed wine, a vintage so strong it was meant to be diluted with 20 parts water. Polyphemus gulped down the sweet nectar, demanding bowl after bowl. The fiery liquid quickly took its toll. Dazed and intoxicated, the Cyclops grinned and asked the stranger his name, promising a guest gift in return. This was the pivotal moment. In the ancient world, your name was your power, your legacy, your identity. Giving a monster your true name meant giving him leverage. But Odysseus played a game Polyphemus could not comprehend. He leaned in and delivered the most famous falsehood in Western literature, Odysseus. In Greek, it meant no man or nobody. Satisfied, Polyphemus chuckled darkly, offering his gruesome gift. He would eat nobody last, after all his companions. Moments later, the giant collapsed onto his back, passing out into a thick, stuporous sleep. Odysseus moved instantly. He and 4 selected men dragged out the massive olive wood stake, sharpened to a needle point and heated in the roaring fire until the tip glowed white-hot. Stepping over the snoring beast, they thrust the burning timber deep into Polyphemus's single eye, leaning their weight into it, and spinning it like a shipwright's drill. The eye hissed, burst, and blinded the monster forever. Polyphemus let out a blood-curdling roar that shook the very foundation of the island. He tore the bloody stake from his face and screamed out into the night for his fellow Cyclopes to come to his aid. From the surrounding hills, the giant neighbors gathered outside the sealed cave entrance, calling through the stone, "Who is hurting you? Polyphemus? Is someone killing you by fraud or force?" From inside the darkness, the blinded giant bellowed back the line that saved the Greeks. "Nobody is killing me by fraud or by force." Silence fell over the mountainside. His neighbors shrugged, called him a fool, and walked away, assuming he was merely struck by a divine sickness. The linguistic trap had snapped shut. By stripping away his own name, Odysseus had weaponized language itself, turning the giant's own cries for help into his isolation. Escape, and one fatal mistake. The monster was blind, but the trap was far from broken. At dawn, Polyphemus rolled away the giant stone to let his flock out to pasture. He sat at the threshold, outstretched hands feeling every sheep that passed, desperate to catch any Greek trying to slip through. Brute force could not cross that doorway. Once again, Odysseus turned to sheer cunning. Using flexible willow twigs, he lashed the giant rams together in triplets. Underneath the belly of the middle ram, a Greek warrior clung tightly to the thick wool, invisible to hands feeling only from above. Odysseus himself clung to the underside of the grandest ram in the herd, suspended inches above the cold stone. One by one, the animals shuffled past the monster's search. Polyphemus stroked the back of Odysseus's ram, weeping and wondering why his favorite beast walked so slowly, never knowing his enemy hung directly beneath his fingertips. Once clear of the cavern, they dropped to the ground, drove the livestock down to their black ships, and shoved off into the safety of the open sea. The impossible trick had worked. They had escaped without losing another soul. Then, hubris took the helm. As the distance grew, the brilliant mind that invented nobody suffered a catastrophic collapse of discipline. A hero's reputation was everything in the Homeric world. Anonymity saved his life, but it starved his ego. Standing at the stern, Odysseus shouted back across the water, taunting the blinded giant and revealing his true identity, his father, and his homeland. If anyone asks who blinded you, tell them it was Odysseus, raider of cities, son of Laertes, who dwells in Ithaca. That single boast shattered their victory. Polyphemus raised his arms to the heavens, calling upon his father, Poseidon, god of the seas and earth shaker. With one devastating curse, the monster sealed the fate of the entire fleet. Conclusion: intelligence won the battle, pride lost the journey. In the end, the story of the Cyclops is not just a tale of monster slayers and miraculous escapes. It is a timeless lesson in the duality of human nature. By casting aside his identity, Odysseus achieved what raw physical strength never could. The alias Nobody was more than a clever pun. It was the ultimate triumph of mind over muscle. It proved that intellect, strategy, and self-restraint are the true armor of a leader when facing impossible odds. Yet, the moment Odysseus reclaimed his name, he shattered his own victory. His hunger for glory transformed a miraculous escape into a 10-year nightmare of divine retribution, shipwrecks, and the loss of every single man under his command. Intelligence won him the battle inside the cave, but hubris cost him his journey home. The legend of nobody echoes through 3,000 years of history because it forces us to ask a haunting question. When survival demands humility, can we master our own ego, or will our pride ultimately destroy us? Thank you for watching Gods and Heroes Unveiled. If you enjoyed this journey into Greek mythology, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for daily epic tales. What Greek myth should we uncover next? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next episode.